Derelict Watcher.
Here we go. Top right-hand corner of Derelict Watcher, the red Protoss player, IG Jim. And Jim's opponents narrowly defending on Neoplanet S, the blue Terran player, EG aLive. And here we are again, Kev.
Yep. Take it away, man.
Well, aLive has built a supply depot.
How many?
Just one.
One. It's a little underwhelming.
Yeah, thus far.
I'm very curious to see what we are going to see on Derelict Watch. I think this is such a fun map to see PvT on. I'm not sure how I feel about playing it. To be honest, I'm not very strong at this map. But I do think I've seen a couple of really fun games on this. And I think if Protoss is able to stabilize, if in a certain point of the game you're able to get into a position where you're like at 3, maybe even 4 bases, and you can just get pylons all around the map. You can set up so many zealot flanks, and it's really a lot of fun to play like that. Like late game Protoss, if you have money and if you have gateways, it's just awesome. I think it's hard to get there, and I'm very curious to see if Jim is going to try to get there, and what aLive is going to do to prevent that from happening.
Command Center first going down here from aLive. Jim's going to try to harass it a little bit. And he'll,
you know what's really fun? If sometimes you send like 2 probes, so then like one SV goes down and then you send 2, and then they're like, hey, I have to send another SV, and then you send like another probe. On the old small maps, I used to do that all the time. It was really good.
Remember the Cat's 3 drone rush?
I do not remember the Cat's 3 drone rush.
He would send 3 drones across the map and just harass with his workers. And
micro.
And by Cat's math, it's like, well, if he doesn't pull the right number of SCVs, you just kill him. And if he pulls too many, then you come out ahead because he's lost this much mining time. And you know
yeah, when the maps were smaller, you could definitely do that kind of funky stuff. I used to do it a lot on Metalopolis when you had like close position. I would just send 4 probes in the start of the game, and they'd be like so mad. And you're like, why? Why are you delaying my rucks? Is this the way you want to play? Yes, I do.
This is exactly how I want to play.
I
want you to hate me before this game is over.
This is how I love to play. I love what Jim was doing. He didn't bother mining any gas. He didn't bother starting his Zealot before he dropped down the Nexus. He didn't even bother to get his Cybercore before the Nexus. He said, all right, if you're going Nexus first, or Command Center first, I'm going to be as economic as possible.
Yep.
And I'm going to go Nexus before anything else, other than my gateway, because that one was down already.
That's right. So, pretty solid openings out of both these guys. Jim's going to have the economy he needs to build whatever the heck he wants. I kind of expect to see him return to the Phoenix Colossus here.
Yeah, this would be a pretty reasonable map as well. I think this is quite a tough map to defend drops, even though there's not a lot of airspace, and normally airspace is what makes it tough to defend against drops. But I think your third base, like if you say you have to worry about drops over here or over here, that's a lot of surface area to worry about. And then above all, you have to worry about these paths just throughout the middle of the map, because hey, we've seen it over and over again this tournament. Sometimes just 5 Marines run up into the natural in the middle of all the bases.
Yeah,
but if you have nothing there, you're going to take a lot of damage. So I think this would be a pretty reasonable map for Phoenix Colossus.
It's not about airspace as much as it's about just space, because there is so much room on Derelict Watcher.
There's a lot of space.
There's lots of space, and it's actually in space, which complicates it even further.
Burn my mind. Stop it.
Double gas coming down now for aLive, who is just trying to do all the normal stuff.
He played it safe as well. He got 3 racks. Sometimes you see Terrans only do 2 racks and then already try to throw down the refineries.
3 racks with no add-ons reminds me of some of the old school Wings of Liberty builds. But of course he can't build add-ons because he doesn't have gas, so that's what that's all about. Although he is moving with those units.
Oh, this might be something that we saw Paul do several times, and something that the Chinese players... wow, there's a lot of gates already, man. I think Jim is just going to go all-out gateway bust. This is like a straight-up 5-gate opening, and that is not normal.
5.
And this actually plays right into what aLive is doing, because aLive is going to sacrifice a couple of units trying to go for a follow-up push, because he's going to try to force out a photon overcharge, and he doesn't care if he loses the Marines. But in this case, he should care, because he's going to need those Marines to defend. And now Jim's going to run out.
What do you do? He's trying to bait it. He's just walking down saying, hey, look at me.
aLive really doesn't want to throw these Marines away, and I think he doesn't. I think he won't do it when he saw all the sentries. He's like, hey, that's kind of weird.
It looks like he is just going to back right off, feeling
6 gateways it is, man.
Something fishy.
37 against 32 probes.
7 gateways.
This time he's getting Stim before Combat Shield. Interesting choice.
Man, aLive, just upon seeing that, it's like, hey, I know what's coming.
Yeah, I really like the aLive. Not trying to do what he perhaps was looking for. Of course, that Marines are just scouting information as well, but 9 out of 10 times you see Terrence at least bait out the photon overcharge.
I just scanned 4 of the gateways.
That's pretty damn big, because normally you don't have 4 gates. Even if there is a robo somewhere else, you don't have 4 gates right now.
Wow.
You have 3 of them at best, and aLive immediately throws down all the bunkers. Man, that game sense is just fantastic by these guys.
It's really amazing how they just know. Like, this feels like a gateway all-in scan. It's 4 gateways. He's very clearly got 8 gateways.
Or 6. I mean, this is... Wow, aLive. I don't know, Jim. I mean, if you have Immortals, you can still be stubborn and try to bust this, but without Immortals, it's really hard. Jim does have very, very good force fields, but on a certain point, it's not about force fields anymore, it's about DPS. Now, Ben, last game I thought that Stim would have been better. This case, I actually think that Combat Shield would have been a little bit better, but with all these bunkers, I don't think it's going to matter.
I don't think there's any way Jim busts this. He might try to poke around the outskirts and kill a couple SCVs here or there.
You know, 1 bunker at a time.
Oh, wow, catches a lot of SCVs there, so that's a reasonable pickup there for Jim. So
he's already probing up behind this as well. He's taking both the simulators. He's also dropping the robotics facility and the forge. So yes, Jim is going to transition out of this immediately, but that is something we know, and that's not something that aLive knows yet.
No. aLive is not taking any chances at all. It's 5 full bunkers. Several SCVs pulled off the line just to make extra sure.
This is pretty sweet for Jim. He's had 7 workers. Wow, so well done by Jim.
That's ridiculous, man. Now now he's up 13 workers. The medevacs for aLive will go into production now that first starport's finishing.
With Stim being ready, I do not think that aLive is going to pull more SCVs, because he's just like, all right, try to bust me. I dare you. I double dare you. But he's not going to do it.
I think Jim's probably going to want to get out of there pretty soon. He has to realize that medevacs could be out soon. Single scouting Marine managed to spot that spinning forge and also the robo, so aLive probably able to deduce that Jim is beginning to transition.
Yep, immediately salvages 2 bunkers. Still has to be careful though, because at the end of the day there are still 6 gateways, and if force fields land before the medevacs are out, it is still a scary thing, so I think it's very smart he keeps at least 3 out of those 5 bunkers. Blink going down, I think that this pretty much means once more, a few units here and there.
Just accepting every possible donation, and aLive, no doubt, a little bit flustered by that.
I think Jim isn't... Well, Jim is actually already going up to 3 bases.
Again, the great force fields by Jim. This time he's going to have to disengage.
He's going to have to be careful. The mothership core is going to fall. And now how is he going to get back?
That's an over. He's going to run, Kev. He's going to run very slowly for a very long distance, and all of his units will be out of breath. But eventually, he will make it back home. These guys are also going to run out of breath.
No.
If they stim again, he might be able to
fight.
They
have performance-enhancing drugs, man.
Oh, man. Cute force field buying a little bit extra time. Jim will turn around and fight.
A couple of free Marines for Jim. The Blink is only halfway done though. It's going to be so hard for Jim to defend all 3 bases / borderline impossible. He doesn't have a single cannon. He doesn't have high Templars for feedback. How on earth is he going to be able to defend 3 locations at once right now? I would be worried about defending 2.
Well, I don't know, man. I feel like he's in a very awkward spot. These 2 medevacs making their way towards the main, and there's the speed boost.
And there is nothing there. And by the time that every unit from Jim is here, aLive is going to run towards his 3rd base. He's going to be able to deal so much damage here. The mothership core doesn't have energy for photon overcharge.
Oh, this is brutal. Jim taking damage on 2 fronts right now. May, in fact, clean up the drop in his main, but his 3rd might just die. He's already lost a lot of probes here. Here's the army, and force fields go down. Guardian shield's going to help as well. The main base is cleaned up, and ultimately he does save the 3rd, but lots of workers ended up dying there. It was 12 probes. Or 11 probes, rather, killed by aLive.
And this is just the beginning. The medevac count is climbing right now. We got 5 medevacs out on the map. There are not too many bio units, though, so aLive, of course, has to be a little bit careful. 3rd command center is about to finish up as well for aLive. But now we're going to see that phase in the game, which I mentioned before, which is hard. Like, how? Jim doesn't see anything on the south side. He doesn't see anything over here. He does have a few. This pylon is going to actually make his life a little bit easier. That's a smart pylon. Oh my god, this could be nice.
There's the blink, and 1 medevac does go down. Very well played there by Jim. Picking off a full medevac, and that's gonna boost him up to about a 20 supply lead over aLive. So Jim making all the right moves, in spite of the fact that he's in a difficult, hard to defend position.
I mean, I like how he's getting units away of his own base, so he has more time to react to those drops and maybe get a little bit lucky and actually spot a drop. ahead of time, like we just saw. That's very well done. That's one way to deal with the big space that he has to cover. And once more, Stalkers are in a pretty reasonable position.
Yeah, that's right along the drop path. So if aLive is not careful, he's going to run right into these Stalkers.
And even if he doesn't run into it, he's going to run into the Observer. And the Observer is not as scary as the Stalkers, but could potentially be.
Yep.
That's the factory over here, but we don't have to worry about the factory in the natural.
What ends up happening? Observer spots the drop. Immediately, Jim blinks up into the main base. There's the speed boost as the army of Jim is more than able to answer this call. A couple probes are going to die. A couple of zealots are going to die.
He needs to focus down the medevacs, though, because those medevacs are going to be able to heal this bio army for a way too long time. Now, a lot of Marauders are still
Marauders
left.
are going to get a ton of kills on these Stalkers, but ultimately Jim will clean it up at the same time. Another drop at the third base, and Jim is here too, man. He is all over it. The Colossi in position. Photon overcharge as well, and great play out of the Chinese Protoss, who repels every one of aLive's attacks.
Wow, man. I did not. I mean, sure, he lost a few probes here and there. aLive has killed 17 workers throughout the entire game. But if you take a look at the work count, he's still at 65 probes. I am very, very impressed with the way that Jim dealt with that. Because without any cannons, without feedbacks, I think it's really hard to survive and not make that mistake of one time underreacting to a drop and finding yourself out of position. Because we saw it before whenever Porter was playing against one of the Protosses. Just one drop is all you need to basically cripple a Protoss, and Jim is just everywhere at once. Really well done. And right now he's sitting at a 30 supply lead in the face of the game where Protoss is normally not 30 supply ahead.
Yeah, and he's got a very scary army to boot, Kev. It's 3 Colossi, enough Blink Stalkers to deal with the drops, and a lot of Zealots as well.
Double starport production is about to kick in, but it's not there yet. We just have a single Viking out on the map. Offensive pilots are going down. I am not sure if aLive is going to have enough time to get enough Vikings out to deal with these Colossus.
Big timing on the way. Jim's going to finish up his +2 attack, and with that, he is almost certainly going to go for it.
Zip, zip.
And here we stand off. And here we go. Jim is going to march in, +2 finishes, and he charges forward. Force fields are not going down at all. It's just going to be the army walking forward. This is pretty good concave for aLive. There are the force fields.
Those are some good force fields as well, because the Vikings are down, man. And with those force fields, it means that these Colossus are not going to die. I think Jim has done it.
Oh, man. No retreat for aLive as Jim blinks forward. I think he's done it. The Vikings are all going to fall. And that's going to do it. IG Jim.